From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Sharon Engel. We are broadcasting to you from our flagship station, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and with our broadcast internet partners around the world on the internet. Sharon, welcome to Conservative Commandos.
Thanks so much, Anna. These fabulous Fridays are beginning to be a thing. We're so glad to be here wrapping up the week, and so glad to be here with you, Anna Little. It's a good deal.
Yeah, and we've got lots to talk about today. How about that London, England? We the people spoke in England, and they have withdrawn from the European Union. What do you think of all that?
Well, it's an interesting development, to say the least, I guess, to say the least. It will be interesting to see how it all really plays out in the world economy. I know last night when it was first announced, many people said, darn it. You know, I had money invested in the EU. Now what happens? Because we know that the thing that kept the EU solvent, or at least one of the things, was that Britain was a part of that conglomerate, if you will. And now that they're out, what does that do to the world economy? What does that do to the economy in the U.S.? And I know that China's concerned, too. What does that do to even the Chinese economy? So it truly is as you said, we the people have spoken. But I know that there are folks around the world now very uneasy about what this means to the worldwide economy.
Well, you know, I think consistency breeds a certain level of comfort, and anytime you've got change, there's going to be some discomfort and therefore unsettled decision-making with regard to plans going forward. But, you know, it kind of begs the same argument that we make with regard to our world involvement. Here you had England kind of propping up the EU with their financial stability and funding. And then we've got, you know, the United States in a similar position with the United Nations. And, you know, I wonder if this doesn't give a little more confidence to those who would say, listen, the United Nations is a bit of a drag on the U.S. financially, and it seems like you've got countries that are dictating, and we've got a risk to our sovereignty, and they're really not in a position to dictate because maybe they haven't complied themselves to the level that we have. And, you know, here we are trying to engage in treaties, but we're constantly making compromises, you know, on the environment, for example, which hurts our economy. And then we're making agreements with countries that haven't even met the same level of, let's say, restrictions relative to themselves. And here we are conceding more and more and more. So I wondered what your thoughts are on the relevance of what happened in England today with regard to the EU and some of the arguments we make about the UN here.
I think you make good arguments, Anna, about the UN. I think there are also arguments to be made about secure borders. I think that, you know, what we've seen in the European economy is that those borders between the European countries, those 23 countries, are kind of open. And now Britain is saying, we don't like that. You know, we don't like floating this economic boat. We don't like the idea of an influx of immigrants, if you will, into our nation, this almost borderless security. We're really pulling back from all of that, and I think that is a feeling here in the U.S., too, to pull back from this. So you make a good argument from pulling back from the UN, and I think that there has been a feeling for that across the United States for a long time. I don't know just how widespread that feeling is, but I know that most of us who are in that silent majority feel like we don't care much for the way that the UN dictates, as you point out, on specifically things that indicate environmental issues that really impact our economic situation here in the U.S. when global warming, of course, becomes a UN agenda item. And so those are really legitimate pressures that I see this is going to make on our country to go forward and really look at the places where we've opened ourselves up, including our borders, including the UN, and becoming more global-oriented as far as the economy. I think that the U.S. is really of that mindset, and this just encourages our resolve to go and do that very thing, which is to kind of withdraw from some of this globalism and look at what's really going on. I thought it was very interesting as well that London elected their first Muslim mayor, and that was the only area in Britain that voted to stay within the EU. So that
very
just tells us something about that. And it's also interesting to note that those who were pushing for the EU have to do with banking. They're the ones that have put the money into it, that get the money out. So there's something to do with those who support these big banks and big banking interests. Their interest lies in this economic community, this globalism, and the rest of us are saying, hey, wait a minute, all of this globalism is undermining our jobs. I mean, that's just like a big in-your-face issue with open borders. It's a big in-your-face issue with the economy as far as how we relate to other countries that are not putting in, as you say, as much as we are. And it is affecting jobs right here in the U.S. And I think that is a glaring contrast with these big banks who are saying, well, globalism is good for us. Well, it's not really good for we, the people, that are having to live with this. And that's what I see as the real revolt or rebellion here, a revolution here, is that we, the people, are finally saying, it's not good for us, and we're backing out. And I'm glad to see the British people saying, yep, we don't like this.
Yeah, and I think it's important, too, that there was some respect for that. I mean, the Prime Minister of England did choose to resign because he did not feel that he was in line with the will of the people, and he wasn't sure quite how to govern in a world without the EU. So he's stepping out of his position and letting the people choose someone that can take them forward in the direction they want to go. And I think although it's drastic, it's also very respectful of the will of the people. And I think it's important for us to be guided by that. I wanted to talk really quickly, and I know we're coming up on a break soon, Sharon, and this whole idea of one world government, which was becoming a bit pervasive in recent years, I think it might have taken a blow with this decision by England to withdraw from the EU. And I think those of us who were arguing for U.S. sovereignty in the face of this one world government idea under the UN, I think we're strengthened by it. Do you want to make some comments and then maybe take us to break?
Sure. I think you're right again on how this strengthens our resolve. And I guess my mind was back, how does that affect our presidential election? And not only how does it affect our presidential election, but would that it were that we had a president that would resign because he was out of step with the will of the people. And we can see that on both sides of the aisle with Bernie Sanders and the Trump movement, that he is definitely out of step with the will of the people. So I guess those are my thoughts. And as you say, we are coming up on a break, and we will be right back after our 2 minutes of commercials here. But we wanted to tell you that we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. This is Sharon Engel. I'm coming to you live with Anna Little, and we'll be right back after a couple of minutes break.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. You are... Go ahead, Anna. You welcome us back.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Conservative Commandos radio show, and if you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network or CCRshow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. you can log on to LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com, or at 1 p.m., RoarRadio.net, or at 9 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Sharon, thank you so much for taking us to break. And as we now return, I have to ask you to do me a favor. Considering my circumstances, not having our list of guests in front of me, I'd love for you to go over with our listeners who we're going to be speaking to on the show today. Could you do that?
Oh, absolutely. At 3:35, Anna, you have the privilege of leading off with an interview with Stephen Moore, who's an economic consultant with FreedomWorks. And he's the author of Fueling Freedom, Exposing the Mad War on Energy, formerly wrote on the economy and public policy for the Wall Street Journal, and is a distinguished visiting fellow a project for economic growth at the Heritage Foundation. He is going to be discussing with us this idea of the American economy, which just fits in so well with what we were talking about. And he is going to talk about Obamonomics. Rest in peace. The sluggish growth is the long-term new normal for America. He wrote this article, and of course that was before this late-breaking news of the EU collapse. So, or I shouldn't say collapse, but of Britain withdrawing from the EU. So it'll be very interesting to get Stephen Moore's take on this. Probably more interesting than your take or my take, just because of the way that this is going down. At 4:05, we also have a guest that I will be interviewing, and his name is Rudy Takala. He's a watchdog reporter for the Washington Examiner with a focus on technology and cybersecurity. And previously, he wrote for CNSnews.com. He graduated from Hamline University before obtaining a master's degree in political communication from American University. He's written 2 articles. The first one was the Clinton Foundation is the latest target of Russian hackers. Wow. Is this chickens coming home to roost or what, Anna? When we've been worried about the security of her email service, well, now she becomes the target of Russian hackers, which is, of course, why we have security, why we didn't want her putting her stuff on her own private server, and now she's being hacked. It's almost like divine justice. As I said, those chickens came home to roost. He also has written another article, GOP Democrats should expect to get hacked. So it's not just Hillary Clinton getting hacked, it's also the GOP and the Democrats who will be getting hacked, according to Rudy Takala, our guest, at 4:05. That should be very interesting, and I know that our guests will want our listeners will be wanting to hang on for those guests. And finally, at 4:35, again, Anna, you get to interview a citizen of my state, a fellow who lives in Las Vegas and is a personal acquaintance and friend of mine, Wayne Allen Root, who's a former Libertarian vice presidential nominee. Wayne is a fierce, enthusiastic, and relentless defender of Reagan conservatism, libertarianism, economic freedom, and capitalism. He is both a political and business personality in the national media, and he is known for his fiery personality and unmatched levels of energy on the political side. Wayne is a lifelong Republican conservative Fox News regular and a political commentator on hundreds of conservative talk radio stations. Wayne is the author of 3 national best-selling conservative books. His new business and personal development book is entitled The Power of Relentless. He is also one of the most popular syndicated columnists in the conservative world, with millions of readers at sites like Fox News, The Blaze, Town Hall, Breitbart, Personal Liberty, and Daily Caller, and his columns often appear in the Washington Times. Wayne is a graduate of Columbia University, class of 83, along with his classmate, President Barack Obama. But Wayne, we've asked Wayne to come in and talk about his latest article, Why I'm Buying an Assault Rifle Today, and So Should You. And he said he's ready. He already owns handguns, but now this Jewish Ivy Leaguer is going to buy my first assault rifle. That will be interesting to see why Wayne Allen Root's buying an assault rifle, and actually probably encouraging the rest of us to do that as well. As we know, this past week has been an assault on our Second Amendment by the Congress. We had several Republicans who voted for this attack on our Second Amendment, which is disconcerting to say the least. The fellow that I ran against here in Nevada wisely chose not to vote for that, but has in the past voted for other not friendly Second Amendment bills that would have given us across the board universal registration of our guns. So it's interesting to see these Republicans still going against the will of the people. And as we said in our first 15 minutes, there's an uprising, and it now seems to be a worldwide uprising of we the people. So there you have our guest that will be coming on to speak with us today, and I'm thinking it's a great lineup, especially in view of what's been happening this past week.
Yeah, Sharon, I think it's important, too, to just briefly touch upon where we are in the American political climate. I mean, you've got Hillary Clinton, who on the world stage, along with Barack Obama, were pretty much telling the people of England, either stay in the EU or we don't want to do business with you. And you had Donald Trump saying, look, don't let me tell you what to do, but if you ask for my opinion, I think you should get out of the EU. And here, England got out of the EU. So what kind of a blow must that be to the present administration and the Democratic nominee, or presumptive nominee, but, the hopeful occupant from the Democratic side of the White House? It sure looks like a fellow like Trump might have a chance on the world stage as well. And I wondered what you thought about the advantage this may or may not give to Vladimir Putin. So why don't you go ahead and pick up those topics?
Oh, my goodness.
I just
you always throw me a hardball here. I don't know. I still think that it's a steep uphill climb for Donald Trump. So don't think that just because even the Brits are taking Donald Trump's advice and that he's on the right track with we the people, that he's got to skate in the park. He doesn't. Hillary Clinton is strong. She's got lots of money, and of course she's got the big banks behind her, and we see that the big banks have a dog in this fight, to say the least. They are going to be coming in powerfully in our elections in November. So even though Donald Trump, this is a boost for his campaign, it is not the signal for us to go and breathe a sigh of relief that we're going to get a new leader. We need to stay completely focused for this presidential election coming up. And sadly to say, even though other world leaders see the handwriting on the wall when it comes to we the people, and I'm speaking of the British Prime Minister saying, well, that's it for me, the people have spoken, certainly doesn't play out in our presidential office at all. Barack Obama is pedal to the metal here. He's not going to back off. We're not going to see a resignation from him. And I think this also just signals to Vladimir Putin that there is an unrest within the global economy, within the global free world, if you will, and it just kind of opens the door for him, I think, Anna. He can see that there's a void here of leadership right now. There's leadership is in flux. If the British leadership is kind of wavering, if we've got a lame duck over here making broad statements about you should stay in the EU, and now they've said, sorry, Barack, we're not listening to you. That means that Barack Obama doesn't have leadership. And we've known that for quite a while, Anna, that the leadership of the United States is fairly weak under Barack Obama. The Britain leadership is now in flux. So it just leaves a vacuum there, if you will, in world leadership that Vladimir Putin is happy to fill.
Yeah, and, that's a concern, I think, too, on the world stage. I mean, we certainly don't need to have a person who focuses on conquest and bringing back Imperial Russia We certainly don't want that person gaining a foothold. So it's important that we, the people, step up, both in England and in the United States, and make sure that that doesn't happen. And with that, I think it's time for another break, Sharon. Boy, time flies when we're having fun. So, listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and many, many others. And we will be right back. I'm Anna Little, co-hosting today with Sharon Engel, and we'll be right back after this break with our first guest.
Yeah, they say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow Patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions.
We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
9/11. It's a day that will go down in our history as the most horrific and destructive scene ever to happen on American soil. It will also be, for most Americans who witnessed it either up close or simply watched in horror on TV, America, to participate in a national memorial I call the United Action of Prayer this coming 9/11 and every 9/11 from then on. United Action of Prayer is simply every American stopping whatever they are doing for 1 minute at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or pray in memory for the 9/11 victims and their families, and perhaps a prayer of gratitude for living in a country where even 9/11 could not at all weaken the spirit of our great nation.
If you're in a crash and have little cash, come to AJ Auto Body. We handle insurance claims fast, and repairs are guaranteed to last at AJ Auto Body. Come check us out, and without a doubt, you'll be satisfied. That's AJ Auto Body, 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. Family owned and operated for 30 years. We are a fully licensed and insured auto repair facility located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. We are your friend in the business. So stop in for a free estimate or call us at 856-251-0096. Check us out on the web at www.ajautobody.net. That's where you'll find our specials, discounts, and coupons. For all your car needs, come to AJ Auto Body, located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. 856-251-0096.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Anna Little. And if you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, www.crsnetwork.com or crshow.com. Or at 1 p.m. you can log on to rawradio.net. At 9 p.m. you can log on to highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And Anna, we have our first guest today, and I'm going to take the honor of introducing him. His name is Stephen Moore. He's an economic consultant with FreedomWorks and is the author of Fueling Freedom, Exposing the Mad War on Energy. He formerly wrote on the economy and public policy for the Wall Street Journal, and is a distinguished visiting fellow, Project for Economic Growth at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's always our pleasure to have you.
And thank you, Sharon, for introducing him, given that I'm still on the road here, listeners. And Steve, I'm so grateful for your work in writing that new book. You know, we really do need to talk about how to fuel freedom. And I know that there is a war on energy, and it does affect our economy. And so I wanted to ask you if there's anything we can learn from what's been going on in North Dakota.
Well, there sure is. I mean, the energy revolution is really amazing, and North Dakota is really the epicenter of the shale revolution that has really changed America's energy picture forever, probably. We have more, thanks to states like North Dakota and Texas and Oklahoma, is West Virginia and Pennsylvania, where the shale revolution is happening. We now have more oil and gas and coal than any other country in the world. And one of the points of our book, Fueling Freedom, is we could easily become the energy-dominant country of the world within the next 5 or 10 years. Not just energy independent, but producing more energy than anyone else on the planet and supplanting.
But, you know, I think there's that ripple effect. When one industry does really well and folks make a lot of money having invested in that industry or worked in that industry, that we suddenly see the ripple effect of folks being able to spend more of their money. And I think there's an example out there in North Dakota of one of those famous international food chains actually not being concerned about the minimum wage anymore because they're actually doing so well. They're able to offer people raises without being forced to. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I want to butt in here right now just to say that Stephen Moore got dropped off our line for a minute, but John's going to get him back. And while he's getting him back, I think it's just exciting, Anna, that we have been complaining for years and years and years about our energy independence on others around the globe. In fact, countries that have aided and abetted the enemy, if you will. And now, it's exciting with listening to you and Steve talk about we could begin to be that not only energy independent country, but the country that is the source of energy for the rest of the world, which and it's all because of this new technology that the left is fighting tooth and nail.
Yeah, Sharon, I wonder why they would fight technology when it's technology that allows us to produce energy with cleaner air and to produce energy with less environmental impact. And it seems like the left is all about the environment. Or, maybe it's some other political agenda they're forwarding and they're just using the environment to a purpose. What do you think?
I think it is their political agenda, and I think that you're exactly right. The left does not have a feel for what goes on globally outside their agenda and their personal interests. They're really interested only in perpetuating their agenda, and their agenda has to do with not everyone getting a better lifestyle. It's really this idea of everyone being equal, and so the United States becoming the energy source for the world completely flies in the face of their agenda to make us more equal with the lowest common denominator, which of course they do in our schools all the time, and now they want to do it on a global economic basis. And we're still waiting for Stephen to come back, so we're going to take a short break here, Anna, while John and Stephen get that call back on so we can talk more to our guests. So we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, 98 Talk, iHeart Radio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM FM 24/7, all.com. This is Sharon Angle and Anna Little. We'll be right back after this break with our guest, Stephen Moore, talking about the global economy and energy.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Patty Berrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show here with Anna Little and Sharon Angle. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. At 1 p.m., you can log on to rawradio.net. At 9 p.m., you can log on to highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can also listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, Anna, John is busily trying to get Stephen Moore back on for more discussion of his articles, but we can go through and just talk a little bit about the articles that he has written. Obamonomics, rest in peace. I thought it was very interesting. Stephen said that he had a meeting with Donald Trump about the problem that Obama has had with the economy. And do you want to explain a little bit about the problem that Obama has had with our economy these last 8 years?
Well, I think some of the difficulty is he wants to mislead us into thinking that we're in recovery, when I think every average American out there trying to make the money in the month meet actually knows that we're not in recovery. I mean, there are more folks out there trying to cobble together 2 or more part-time jobs to make the money in the month meet. And it's not just on the East Coast of the nation where I'm living, but it's all across. And we're all feeling that pinch. And yet you've got a commander-in-chief and a fellow who's in the White House there telling us about his jobs reports and how far we've come and how we're, really creating all these new jobs. And I think most of we the people are looking at each other like, well, do you have a new job, or do you have a new job? Does your neighbor have a new job? I don't know where these jobs are, but they're not getting to us. So I think that's part of the problem. And I think what Stephen Moore's exposing is that his approach to economics just frankly doesn't work.
Well, and I like the way that Stephen puts it in his article. He says, no one is more surprised by this turn of events than Mr. Obama himself. The Obama economists have consistently overestimated growth for 7 years, now to the tune of $2 trillion accumulated lost growth. Alas, they were drinking their own Kool-Aid. All of this comes atop the lousy jobs report, which you mentioned, the finding that 95 million Americans over the age of 16 aren't working, and that still 40 million are on food stamps. The business sector is in especially worrisome shape, with industrial production down 1.4% over the past year, and investments slumping. Corporate profits have flatlined. And the lesson of the Fed under Ben Bernanke and now Yellen is that easy money is no economic solution to this decade-long malaise. As economist Larry Kudlow puts it, the Fed can print money, but it can't create jobs. Our central problem now is not with our monetary policies. It is a severe regulatory and tax drag. I think that just summed it up so perfectly, what's going on. And I like what he said about they've been drinking their own Kool-Aid. They have believed it, and the rest of us out here in the country no longer believe it, Anna. In fact, we never believed it in the beginning, and the figures now prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are in one of the worst economic slumps that we've ever been in this country.
And, they try to say that the most quick turnaround with regard to job creation is infrastructure work. And I'm not taking anything away from the fact that infrastructure work does get a lot of people on the job quickly, but most infrastructure work is run on the public dollar, which is taxpayers' dollars, which means it's taking money out of the economy into the government to put it back into the economy. And I think we're finally getting the American people to realize that that kind of job creation is counterproductive, because you first need to take the money from the folks you want to give it back to them. Whereas private sector job creation in the growth of small and mid-sized companies is a win-win, because it not only creates the jobs in the private sector to hand the money via the job vehicle over to the taxpayer, but the government also gets to collect more revenue on that job from both the employer, the employee, and then on their commercial purchases where the sales tax is involved. So it is private sector job creation that needs to fuel any kind of economic recovery, and I guess Obama just thinks that the public sector's got to do it.
Well, and I think that Stephen Moore brings up another good point, and he says, all of this brings me to the Republicans. Why are they stone silent on the economy and jobs, and why are they beating up Mr. Trump rather than Hillary and Mr. Obama for their economic malpractice? Every poll over the last 3 years finds the economy and jobs are by far the biggest voter concern. In 2007 and 2008, when the role of the parties was reversed, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sent a blizzard of legislation to the desk of George Bush, which he either had to veto or put his tail between his legs and sign into law. So where is the Republican tax cut? Where is the Republican regulatory freeze? Where is the Republican bill suspending the 50-worker rule under Obamacare, or the 30-hour-a-week regulation that has forced millions of Americans into part-time jobs? Why haven't they suspended the Clean Power Plant rules by the EPA that are putting coal miners out of work? House Speaker Paul Ryan has some wonderful policy ideas he's rolling out, but rather than talking about them, how about passing them? Hillary's growth agenda is to give America more of the same, and congressional Republicans seem to have no economic agenda at all, just white papers of what they will do in the future. But to quote George Allen, the future is now. Congressional Republicans like to blame Mr. Trump for his precarious political predicament and lousy poll numbers. Maybe they should look in the mirror. Anna, he's nailed it, hasn't he? That's what we have been complaining about, and yet, Anna, it is striking to me that Republican voters in the primaries to date have rejected conservative Republicans in favor of the same old. What is going on?
Well, I can't agree with you more, and I do think that some of the difficulty that we've got is we have people that say there's a do-nothing Congress out there, and so out of fear of being accused of being the Congress of no, we've become a Congress that's not doing anything. And, we've got 2 out of 3 participants in the making of laws. We've got the House, we've got control of the House, we've got control of the Senate. There's absolutely no reason we shouldn't be inundating Obama with a load of laws. Whether he'll sign them or not is a separate question. But for him to stand up there and bash Congress on a regular basis, whether it be here domestically or on the international world stage, and for us to not have put those bills in volume on his desk, to have him say, why are you not listening to the will of the people? I mean, our rhetoric needs to follow what's been going on. The people have done their job. They've stood up in 2010 and given us the House. They've stood up and they've given us the Senate. So now it's up to the House and the Senate to do the will of the people. And that's the frustration I think we've got. And I think some in the House and the Senate, look, Louis Gohmert gets it. He's one of my favorites out of Texas. He gets it. He's with the people. And he's ready to take the bull by the horns. And I think there are some moderates in the Republican Party that are just a little afraid. And afraid of what? I mean, look, they should be more afraid about losing their seats in a primary than trying to keep the status quo in Washington. The people have said we want no more of that. And they're getting desperate. So I think everybody down there has got to just figure out how to get whatever bills they've got in committee, out of committee, and out to a vote. And since we've got leadership in both houses, there's no excuse that we shouldn't accomplish all that. What do you think, Sharon?
Well, having just run one of those primary elections against one of those guys in Congress that has been doing nothing for the past 6 years, and in fact playing along with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, yet and it was obvious, Anna. It was obvious. We told the truth. We said, this is what's going on with this guy, and yet they chose him again. Republican voters are choosing the incumbents over those who are challenging them. It makes no sense. It's a perfect setup this time, you would think, with Trump leading the charge against the same old establishment, insider, business as usual, go along to get along crowd. You would think that Republican voters would be so energized to get anybody but these incumbents back in, and yet they don't. I was looking at the Georgia primary with Paul Brown. Excellent. He has a record of conservatism up and down the line, and guess what? The incumbent won over Paul Brown. And these are not by small margins, Anna. They're by big margins. Paul lost his race by 40 points. So did I. What is that all about? Where is the outrage, Anna, at the electorate level? They're outraged enough to vote for Trump, but that doesn't translate into down ballot elections. In fact, even our state house, we had primaries this time against folks that voted for a income tax on business, a gross receipts business tax, and 80% of the electorate in 2014 said, no way, we don't want this kind of a tax. The state house in our state voted for that tax, put it into place, and yet every one of those incumbents that ran again this time was reaffirmed, was their challenger was defeated, and not by small margins again. Some of them there were small margins, but mostly by large margins. The Republicans rejected the challenger and went with their same old guy. We hate it, those bad guys in Congress, but not our bad guy. We'll keep voting for him. It's just so interesting to me to see this strange turn of events, and I just have no explanation, Anna.
Well, and with that, I think we've got to take ourselves to another break. And you are listening to Conservative Commando's Radio Network studios. We are broadcasting live from WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. I'm Anna Little, co-hosting today with the one and only Sharon Engel, and we will both be right back with you after this break with our next guest.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, The Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions.
We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we're trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
9/11. It's a day that will go down in our history as the most horrific and destructive scene ever to happen on American soil. It will also be, for most Americans who witnessed it either up close or simply watched in horror on TV, America, to participate in a national memorial I call the United Action of Prayer this coming 9/11 and every 9/11 from then on. United Action of Prayer is simply every American stopping whatever they are doing for 1 minute at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or pray in memory for the 9/11 victims and their families, and perhaps a prayer of gratitude for living in a country where even 9/11 could not at all weaken the spirit of our great nation.
If you're in a crash and have little cash, come to AJ Auto Body. We handle insurance claims fast, and repairs are guaranteed to last at AJ Auto Body. Come check us out, and without a doubt, you'll be satisfied. That's AJ Auto Body, 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. Family owned and operated for 30 years. We are a fully licensed and insured auto repair facility located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. We are your friend in the business. So stop in for a free estimate or call us at 856-251-0096. Check us out on the web at www.ajautobody.net. That's where you'll find our specials, discounts, and coupons. For all your car needs, come to AJ Auto Body, located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. 856-251-0096.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Anna Little. And if you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Or at 1 p.m. you can log on to rawradio.net. And at 9 p.m. you can log on to highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Well, Anna, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show. We're here with live radio, and as our listeners found out, and as you and I know, when it's live radio, anything can happen. We lost our guest last sequence, Stephen Moore. We were wanting to talk to him, of course, about the economy, and got to review his article instead, which was great information, and our listeners can really check out Stephen Moore. He's on the internet and has written wonderful articles and will continue to write wonderful articles about our economy. But as you and I know, live radio, sometimes things happen, and it's happening to us today, isn't it, Anna?
Well, it sure is, and it keeps us on our toes, Sharon, and it gives us more opportunity as conservative women to chat with each other about the issues of the day. And for that reason, I think we ought to just talk a little bit about what our next guest is going to come on. What's the topic that your guest is going to be talking about?
Well, as you mentioned, we're going with the flow one more time. He's asked for a little time before we introduce him. Rudy Takala is going to be talking about hacking and the hacking that's going on, not only with the Russians hacking Hillary Clinton, but that stand by, the Republicans and Democrats will be hacked as well. And, this whole thing just kind of lines up for us, doesn't it, with this private server that Hillary Clinton had. The warning was, we don't do private servers because they can be easily hacked. And all of this critical information, this confidential information that she was storing on this server now has come home, if you will, to roost for her, because the Russians, they found this is a great avenue for information, and they're hacking her.
Yeah, and I think the whole entire... Look, Hillary Clinton is privileged in her own mind. Her supporters view her that way. And so if she wants to have a home server, well, then that's okay. Give her what she wants. The difficulty is she's also a public servant. As Secretary of State, she answers to we the people. The data that she's managing doesn't belong to Hillary Clinton. It belongs to the people. And we the people have laws in place to protect ourselves from breaches of security where it comes to our private information, private government information. And I think, Sharon, your guest might be ready. So I'll back off at this point and let you go ahead and introduce your guest.
Well, you're right, and it is my pleasure to introduce Rudy Takala, who's a watchdog reporter for the Washington with a focus on technology and cybersecurity. And previously, he wrote for cnsnews.com. He graduated from Hamline University before obtaining a master's degree in political communication from American University. Rudy, welcome back to Conservative Commando's radio show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure, Rudy. And we really wanted to talk about two articles with you. They both have to do with hacking. And the first one, we were just discussing what divine justice this is, that that the Clinton Foundation is the latest target of Russian hackers. Would you kind of go into that? Why? I'm thinking that's kind of an interesting twist on the whole security story that we've been having with Hillary Clinton. But there is a really serious side to this, isn't there, Rudy?
Well, it's more of the same activity that we've been seeing. Obviously, it's not as serious as the possibility that her server was hacked, which included classified information, but we did find through unnamed sources in the federal government that the foundation was hacked. They said that they had informed officials there. The spokesman for the foundation said that wasn't the case, or at least nobody had informed him, and that they had no idea. So we can assume that it was hacked, though. We could have known that even without the announcement, because these institutions are targeted on a regular basis. So it's interesting that it's coming out. That's probably the most notable part about it.
Well, and so why would the Russians even be interested in more than 4,000 party officials, lawyers, and foundations in the United States, which is the information that they're kind of getting through this hacking?
Well, they want information on as many people as they can get it on. They like to know connections between officials and people who are involved in politics, donors, and so on. So they hack a wide range of institutions. They target probably all members of Congress, it is safe to say. They target presidential candidates. We've heard from intelligence officials that they have been targeting the presidential candidates over the last several months. Obviously, there was the hack of the Democratic National Committee last week. It's just a routine intelligence collection activity, and every time you gain access to a high official or somebody with access, you can use that to leverage access into somebody else's accounts as well. So, for instance, that's how Hillary Clinton's server was allegedly hacked by Guccifer, that Romanian hacker. He first hacked Sidney Blumenthal, and then from there sent her a malicious email, found her account, sent a malicious email, and then made his way in that way. So they do that kind of stuff all the time.
Is this just to annoy us, or are they really gaining information that would be useful and damaging to us, useful to them and damaging to us on a more global basis?
Well, for the most part, the stuff that they have gained access to and that has been released so far is only damaging to Hillary Clinton. If they gained access to classified information, that is the kind of thing that they could use to harm people or infrastructure. So that's really the concern. If they gain classified information, they probably aren't going to announce it or put it online, as we've been seeing with some of this other stuff, because that's the kind of thing that goes on behind the scenes. So that's one observation about that. With a lot of these institutions, for example, the Foundation and the DNC, it's probably safe to say that there are multiple parties who have infiltrated them, not just state actors like Russia, but also just unaffiliated hackers from around the world. It's safe to say that a lot of these unclassified institutions or unsecured networks have been penetrated by more than one party.
Okay, so we're going to kind of segue a bit now into this idea that the DNC and the GOP are now targets, and that they should expect to be hacked. But not only should they expect it, but the DNC is already making some initial announcements that they were hacked last week. So, how will that affect our elections, or does it affect our elections? Are they? And who are these hackers? Are they the same Russians? Or are they just worldwide people? Are they just trying to get in and be mischievous, or do they have a plan to upset something here?
Some of them don't are not as directed in their goals. The state-based hackers are just trying to find information and then retain that information. There's the prospect that they could use it for blackmail purposes, but in the case of somebody like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, you're being targeted, and thus you probably are not going to put a lot online with which you can be blackmailed. So for the most part, the state-based hackers are looking at intelligence gathering. They just want to know who candidates and who people are talking to. It's the unaffiliated hackers who break in for fame or whatever else, who cause more of a nuisance. For instance, the DNC was hacked. That was originally traced to the Russian government. But then you had somebody posting information online from the DNC network, which, that's not the typical behavior for an intelligence agency, and there was speculation that the Russian government might have been just trying to misdirect people into believing it was somebody else. But then that individual started posting information about Hillary Clinton, like talking points about how to defend against everything that she did with her server. So then you saw damaging information about Hillary coming out as well, which leads to the observation that there was probably more than one person in that network. So you have really a range of actors with a range of motivations, and so far it's been mostly embarrassing for the Democrats. But you could see it get to a point where if somebody is not prepared for it, or they're putting too much information online, you could see a point where some of the information that these hackers hold could be more damaging.
Wow. Well, we want to continue this conversation with you, Rudy. Can you stay with us through our break?
Sure.
We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. And we'll be right back with our guest, Rudy Takala, talking about hacking. And we'll want to go into how does this affect an election since they're hacking the DNC and the GOP. We'll be right back after this message with Sharon Angle, Anna Little, and our guest, Rudy Takala.
They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Sharon Engel. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and CCRShow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com. At 1 p.m., RoarRadio.net. And at 9 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our guest is still with us, Rudy Takala, watchdog reporter for the Washington Examiner, focusing on technology and cybersecurity. And he's talking to us about the Clinton Foundation being the latest target of Russian hackers. Rudy, thank you so much for waiting through that break. We do appreciate your time. I'm Anna Little.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, because I know you were talking with Sharon before, and we sound alike, so I want to let you know. And so, Rudy, I just wanted to follow up a little bit on this situation. You know, it seems like these hackers, we're in a situation now where they're accessing this information. But, you know, while Hillary Clinton may be the target, or the GOP and the Democrats may be the target, the information could be a lot broader than just their personal information or information to be used against them. So really, it's more of an attack against our American freedoms and the way we express those freedoms in the use of the Internet, wouldn't you say?
Yes, to an extent. I suppose it is also important to note that this is kind of an accepted or, traditional means of intelligence activity. The U.S. engages in the same sort of activity, trying to hack officials in other nations and government property in other countries. We kind of saw that last year when the Chinese hacked the Office of Personnel Management, stole information on about 21 million Americans who have applied for security clearances with the federal government or connected to that. And you saw intelligence officials kind of saying, we live in a glass house because we engage in the same kind of activity. So ultimately, I guess we need to realize that this is taking place and it needs to be defended against because you're always going to have state-based hackers, whether it's Russia, China, Iran, or North Korea. They're always going to be engaging in this activity. So it really falls on us to defend against it properly.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up to that, these the GOP and the DNC, these organizations are private clubs, right? Private organizations that people choose to belong to, and therefore their information is, volunteered and put there. And of course, there's some measure of responsibility on the part of the DNC and the GOP to protect that information, and it might be an issue, if they've been negligent in some way. But in the case of Hillary Clinton, there is clear law on the books as to how she was supposed to manage the public's information, the information that belongs to we the people, that she had access to by way of her public service job as Secretary of State. And I'm wondering why there hasn't been, a full prosecution of her obvious violations of these laws at this time. And, the president having come out to endorse her kind of makes it look like maybe there's not going to be. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, that is notable. It's the first time that president has endorsed somebody under FBI investigation for president. So, I guess it's a year of firsts. And regardless of who's being victimized by the hacking, whether it's the RNC or the DNC, you have laws against that. So it does fall within the purview of government agencies like the Secret Service, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security, all defend against this kind of activity, be it perpetrated against private actors or governmental. But when you are talking about classified information, as Hillary Clinton was in possession of, that's a whole new issue. Whether why isn't she being prosecuted? You could make a case for some level of mishandling of information. If somebody mishandles information, there's a case to be made that it should not be prosecuted. Many people who have that information, who have access to it, mishandle it in some way. Inadvertently exposing it, putting it somewhere they shouldn't put it. Often they receive administrative reprimands or something to that effect. So not all violations are prosecuted. But with that being said, nobody has ever, probably in the history of the nation, ever set up a private server with the express intent of retaining that classified information. That's never happened before, and to leave office with as much as she did, about 2,200 documents, I believe, 22 of them top secret, at least one of them contained human intelligence about people on the ground, the highest classification that you can have. To do as much as she did, that is entirely unprecedented. So you have, on the one hand, the fact that people who inadvertently do this stuff are almost never prosecuted. It potentially has never happened. But then you've never had anybody who, has done it to this extent, and some would say it wasn't so much inadvertent as it was intentional. So you can make an argument on both sides of the case, but the better question is why the investigation is taking so long and so long to come to a conclusion. So that'll be very interesting to learn when the results are out.
I just can't help thinking about General Petraeus as I'm listening to you. I don't think what happened to General Petraeus was any administrative reprimand. And when I think of what he was accused of having done and what Hillary Clinton has at this point been exposed to have done, I think what General Petraeus was accused of pales in comparison to what we already know from publicly exposed information that she's guilty of. So I'm wondering, if we're going to prosecute General Petraeus the way we did, why are we not doing so across the board with everybody? Why is Hillary Clinton any different? And with that, I'm going to back off, and you can answer, and then Sharon, take it away after that.
Well, that's, a lot of people are asking that question. What Petraeus did was expose classified information in violation of the Espionage Act, the Federal Records Act, to his mistress and two reporters off the record. Hillary Clinton stockpiled it and then walked away with it in violation of both of those. You also have somebody like Edward Snowden, who's in violation of both the Espionage Act, the Federal Records Act, and facing felony counts and had to flee the country for violating both of those laws. So there does come a point when you have to think about what kind of impression you're leaving on people in this country and elsewhere if you have one set of rules for people outside of the government and another set of rules for people inside the government. It doesn't leave a good impression if it seems to be a double standard.
Well, I think it just opens the door also for the mischief that you've been reporting on of the Russians hacking in and really kind of having a heyday with the private servers and putting us on notice that if they can get into her foundation, they've probably gotten into her private server and have all the information from those classified articles that she had. So they're just kind of sending a message. Do you see it that way? From your last statement in your article, the U.S. Secret Service, FBI, and NSA have additionally been reported to be involved, both in response to the hack of the DNC and the Clinton Foundation. So it seems like the government is seeing something here as well.
Well, it is the government, it is the federal government. We have laws against hacking, so the federal government does get involved when this sort of activity takes place, and then you have agencies like the Secret Service getting involved. When you have foreign intelligence agencies in particular, when you have all of those agencies involved, then you have the federal government stepping up to investigate. As to whether foreign intelligence services are sending a message, I don't know that they really need to. I think it's kind of a given that they have access to pretty much anything digitally that there is to have access to. If it's connected to the internet, they have ways of getting to it. That's why they go to the trouble of trying to hack 4,000 different people or obtain information on 4,000 people, because they want to find everyone and all of their secret email accounts.
Well, unfortunately, we're up against it one more time with our breaks here, and we're going to have to say goodbye to you. But before we do, Rudy, I want you to give our listeners an opportunity to find your articles online, also to follow what you do with this cyber security and the hacking. I think that everyone's very interested in what's going to happen next. Could you give us that information?
As to how to follow me, you can do it on Twitter at Rudy Tackla or on Facebook, and otherwise WashingtonExaminer.com.
So, at Rudy Tackla, would you spell your last name, Rudy, for our listeners?
It's a Finnish last name, which means it ends in ALA, and it's Takala.
Thank you so much, Rudy, for being our special guest here on Conservative Commando's radio show. We really appreciate your time and also the expertise that you lend to this topic.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AMFM247.com, all of these. We'll be right back after this break with Sharon Angle, Anna Little, and our next guest, Wayne Allen Root, who, as I mentioned in our opening, he is a Nevada citizen, has his own talk show, and has written articles himself, one of which now has to do with our Second Amendment.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions.
We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we're trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
9/11. It's a day that will go down in our history as the most horrific and destructive scene ever to happen on American soil. It will also be, for most Americans who witnessed it either up close or simply watched in horror on TV, America, to participate in a national memorial I call the United Action of Prayer this coming 9/11 and every 9/11 from then on. United Action of Prayer is simply every American stopping whatever they are doing for 1 minute at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or pray in memory for the 9/11 victims and their families, and perhaps a prayer of gratitude for living in a country where even 9/11 could not at all weaken the spirit of our great nation.
If you're in a crash and have little cash, come to AJ Auto Body. We handle insurance claims fast, and repairs are guaranteed to last at AJ Auto Body. Come check us out, and without a doubt, you'll be satisfied. That's AJ Auto Body, 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. Family owned and operated for 30 years. We are a fully licensed and insured auto repair facility located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. We are are your friend in the business. So stop in for a free estimate or call us at 856-251-0096. Check us out on the web at www.ajautobody.net. That's where you'll find our specials, discounts, and coupons. For all your car needs, come to AJ Auto Body, located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. 856-251-0096.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Businessman there, drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Aaron Engel and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and CCRShow.com. Or at mornings at 9 a.m., log on to LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com. At 1 p.m., RoarRadio.net. And at 9 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is mine. Wayne Allen Root has been branded by media across the globe as the capitalist evangelist. A former Libertarian vice presidential nominee, Wayne is a fierce, enthusiastic, and relentless defender of Reagan conservatism, libertarianism, economic freedom, and capitalism. He is both a political and business personality in national media, and he's known for his fiery personality and unmatched levels of energy. On the political side, Wayne is a lifelong Republican, conservative Fox News regular, and a political commentator on hundreds of conservative talk radio stations, and is the author of 3 national best-selling conservative books. His new business and personal development book is entitled The Power of Relentless, and he's also one of the most popular syndicated columnists in the conservative world, with millions of readers at sites like Fox News, The Blaze, Town Hall, Breitbart, Personal Liberty, and Daily Caller. His columns often appear at the Washington Times, and Wayne is a graduate of Columbia University, class of '83, along with his classmate, President Barack Obama. Wayne Allen Root, welcome back to Conservative Commando's radio show.
Thanks for having me back. I am here. Great to be with you.
Well, we're so grateful for you and all that you do, and I am so tickled by this title to this article that you've written, Why I'm Buying an Assault Rifle Today, and So Should You. Tell us about that title in that article.
Well, listen, I write a lot of articles. That one's already in my rearview mirror. I wrote 2 of them this morning. They're out at Fox News and Town Hall. I wrote one at Breitbart since then. So, I mean, I have lots of things to discuss, to argue about. The assault rifle thing was last week already. It seems like about 6 months ago. It's representative of what's happening in our country. I've argued, I got a book out called The Power of Relentless, and I've argued that Obama's, I may hate the man, I may despise everything he believes in, but I also respect him because he's the most relentless human being that I've ever seen until, of course, I met Donald Trump. Donald Trump is more relentless, and he's our version of Barack Obama, a good version of Barack Obama. He's the one that can defeat the Democrats. He's just as relentless. But Obama just attacks us from 1,000 different directions. The truth doesn't matter. All that matters is he's got us on the run at all times. We're always on defense. And the assault rifle situation is such a great example. Obama's favorite group in the world, besides gays, has got to be Muslims. And one group of his that he loves attacked the other one. And instead of admitting how embarrassed he was, he got us on the run again. I mean, what did that attack have to do with assault rifles or guns? Nothing. What's it got to do with gun control? Nothing. His city, Chicago, is filled with dead black people shot by other black people, and he's never said a word about that. All over this country, there are white people killing white people. He's never said a word about that. But one Muslim walks into a nightclub, a gay nightclub, kills 49 Americans, and suddenly it's guns. Well, I must be missing something. What's it got to do with guns? It's got to do with a Muslim problem in our country. Radical Islam is attacking America. It's not a gun issue. Gun control never stopped one single killing in Chicago. It's never stopped one killing anywhere else in the United States. Assault rifles have nothing to do with the issue, and Obama's turned it to a gay issue, Christian hatred of gays, and a gun issue. Neither one have anything to do with what happened 2 weeks ago on a Sunday in Orlando. It's a radical Islam war on America. He can't say those 2 words together. He's the most extreme Muslim sympathizer in the history of America. We never even imagined we'd have a human being like him in the White House. He even plays with the transcripts and commits fraud and changes them so the guy says God, God, God instead of Allah, Allah, Allah. That's called fraud, and you need to be impeached and go to prison for that. And we got a president who just does whatever he wants to do, and the U.S. Congress doesn't say a word and lets him get away with whatever he wants. It's amazing. But the end result is this has nothing to do with assault rifles or guns of any kind. And if it does, then you better start worrying about Chicago, where you have the strictest gun control in the nation, and 50 people are shot every weekend, almost every one of them black, shot by other black perpetrators. So I think you ought to worry about something other than guns.
Well, here's a question I've got for you, though, on the subject of guns. Law-abiding citizens, educated in the handling of guns, legal, lawful gun ownership. If one person in that nightclub had a gun on them, perhaps not so many would have died, maybe nobody at all, because that perpetrator could have been taken down by the individual who was law-abiding and knew how to handle a weapon. I don't see any problem with that. As a matter of fact, I think most perpetrators would think twice if they thought everybody they were about to go in and shoot was going to shoot back. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's why I went out and I bought a AR-15. Which, by the way, even though I put that in the title of my article, that I'm buying an assault weapon today, and you should too, it's not an assault weapon. I mean, I did it to put it in the language the average person would understand. But it's semi-automatic. It's not automatic. It's not an assault weapon in reality. But I did want people to, be shocked at the title and therefore stop and read it, and they did by the thousands. And that's a good thing. And I wanted them to understand that what you're calling an assault rifle, which isn't, I'm going to go out and buy it. I want one now. And that's what people need to hear. We all need to be armed, just as you said. I think the only way to stop Islamic terrorism now is that they should know. The best way to stop it is they should know it's not just law enforcement, but the average American is armed. And we're armed with the same kind of weapons they've got. You know, we're not sitting there with a little bottle cap shooter against their AR-15s. We've got AR-15s, and we're protecting our homes with them. As long as you know that, then I think it'll put the fear of God into some of them, at least. And it makes them pause a little bit before they do what they do. So I think everyone needs to be armed. They need to be well-trained. They need to know what they're doing. They need to make sure their weapons are well, put aside, so that their kids can't get at them. They need to be locked up in a place like a safe where their kids can't get at them, that you can only open with your fingerprint or laser of some kind, a code of some kind, any of those things. But the point is, you need to know gun safety. You need to be gun trained, and you need to protect yourself. And I think that's what America needs at this point. Look, when you look at the United States Congress, when you look at those Democrats who had that sit-in, just a couple days ago, what an embarrassment when you realize that every one of them was able to conduct that sit-in only because there are armed guards watching over them in the United States Congress. Take the guns away and they'd all be dead now. Everyone in the United States Congress and the president, can you take the guns away? Can we take the armed guards and the security away? Do you think they'd live very long? Why do they deserve better protection than you and me? The reality is, as long as you've got a bodyguard in Hollywood or in the music industry, if you're an actor with a bodyguard, Michael Moore, George Clooney, Sean Penn, all of you have armed bodyguards. What right have you got to talk about me being disarmed? No right at all. What right has Obama got to stare at a Muslim terrorist attack and come to the conclusion that I should be disarmed? I'm a law-abiding American citizen. Makes no sense at all, but it's typical of the liberals. They hit you from 100 directions, and the truth has absolutely nothing to do with their opinion.
Well, I've got to tell you, this has been a really stimulating conversation, and for that reason, time is flying, and I've got to take us to a quick 2-minute break. Can you hold on for just 2 minutes, because we want to pick this up right after the break?
You got it.
Thank you so much. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Red State Talk Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. We are speaking this segment with Wayne Allen Root, the capitalist evangelist, talking to us about your gun rights. And then I'm Anna Little, Sharon Engels on the other line. We will all be right back after this break.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, we're David and Patty Barrickman of Wildflower Ridge Honey, beekeepers for 49 years. I want to tell you about a great survival and a multi-use product called Trail Rations. It is pure honey and a product of the USA. Trail Rations comes in a food-grade 12-ounce, very durable and reusable pouch, ready for immediate use or for long-term storage, because honey is the only food that never spoils. Honey is instant energy and goes right straight to your bloodstream. Honey is one of the best all-natural survival foods, natural sweetener right straight from Mother Nature. Honey is also antiviral, fungal, and bacterial. It's your first aid in a pouch. Carry one in your backpack or your bug-out bag. Find us on Facebook, Wildflower Ridge Honey, or call 765-641-9972, 765-641-9972.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Yes, sir.
I'm
still here. Wayne's here.
Sharon was going to take us. So, okay. So if you would like to hear a rebroadcast, listeners of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com. Or 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We're speaking this segment with Wayne Allen Root. He's branded by the media across the globe as the capitalist evangelist, and he's talking to us today about our Second Amendment rights and how important it is for Americans to be armed and to be educated with regard to lawful gun use. So, Wayne, thank you so much for waiting through that break. We do appreciate your time.
My pleasure to be with you. I wanted to make sure you knew, all your listeners know where to reach me, by the way. My website is rootsforamerica.com, like my last name, Roots, R-O-O-T, foramerica.com. My present book is The Power of Relentless, endorsed by Donald Trump, and my new book comes out August 23rd. You can pre-order now at Amazon. I think it'll be the #1 book of the country throughout the election. It's called Angry White Male.
We're so glad that you joined us, Wayne Allen Root. I am glad to be able to return the favor. You had me on your program.
Hey, Sharon, how are you?
Vegas. I'm just fine, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about your program. You broadcast over the internet like we do, and also locally live in some vicinity. So could you talk to us just a little bit about that? We know how to get a hold of your articles, but how do we get a hold of you and your stimulating conversation?
Yeah, the radio station is 790 Talk Now in Las Vegas, 790 AM. And my show is Afternoon Drive Time. I believe I'm the only host in the country who's ever replaced Mark Levin. Anywhere in this country on a local basis, I replaced him in Vegas 4 to 6 p.m. And we're hoping to be syndicated all over the country soon, but you can listen to us live on the air at 790talknow.com, 790talknow.com, 4 to 6 p.m. West Coast time. So East Coast time, we're 7 to 9 p.m. East Coast time, 790talknow.com. War Now, the Wayne Allen Root Show.
Thanks for that little commercial. We're always glad to give our fellow broadcasters the opportunity to get our audience more informed, because that's really what radio is all about these days. I wanted to go back to the gun issues. Of course, this universal background check is going to be playing big in Nevada. We're going to have it on our ballot as question 1. But it also is playing big in the national arena. You kind of alluded to that before the break when you were talking with Anna, and the sit-in that was staged there in Washington, D.C. Talk about why universal background check is a bad idea.
Well, look, all I have to say to any patriot that's listening is there's never been a word of truth that's ever come out of any liberal's mouth, but certainly none have ever come out of Barack Obama's mouth or Hillary Clinton's mouth. So whenever they say it's just a little thing, it's not a big deal, it won't affect people, it won't affect the legal gun owner, you know, if all of that was true, I think there'd be a lot of us who'd go along with some sort of compromise. But there is no compromise with liberals. It's like when you say, okay, you know what, I've had enough, let gays get married, I don't care. And then the next day, they come out with transgender bathrooms and self-identifying at school. Don't you understand? There's never an end. You give an inch, they take a mile. So from now on, I suggest we don't give inches anymore. There's no point. You know, Donald Trump kind of proves that size matters. Don't give an inch. Fight back, use your mouth, be vicious, and maybe practice a little nonviolent Martin Luther King protest. It's time for all of us to fight back really, really viciously. There is no liberal I know of that's fighting back nicely. It's harsh. And then when you answer back harsh, they accuse you of being harsh. That's what happens to Donald Trump. Who cares? fight back, because they're liars about everything. So when they say, if you like your insurance, you can keep it, you can't. And when they say the price of insurance is not going up, it's going down, they're lying, it's going up. When they say if you like your doctor, you can keep it, you couldn't. When Obama said to lower the deficit, liar. So, from now on, and when he says the IRS attack was, just a little effort by a bunch of bureaucrats, unaccountable in a little office in Cincinnati, liar. Orchestrated by Valerie Jarrett and Obama right out of the White House, guaranteed. I was one of the victims, and my attack came from the Las Vegas office of the IRS. It wasn't out of Cincinnati. It's got nothing to do with a bunch of lower-level bureaucrats. They would never risk their pensions without getting approval or orders from way above, and way above came from the Obama White House. So they lie about everything. Don't forget, Obama's the guy who said that Bush was unpatriotic for adding $4 trillion to the debt, and he's going to add $10 trillion. They lie about everything. So when they say if you like your guns, you can keep them, it's like if you like your insurance, you can keep it. You can't. They're lying to you. So therefore, my answer is no compromise, no gun registration, no background checks. I wouldn't agree to anything further than what we've got already. Nothing. It's already too onerous. There's already too many regulations. That's why the price of guns and bullets are so expensive already. Just leave it where it is. At a worst-case scenario, I don't listen to a word they say, because whatever comes out of their mouth, how do you know they're lying? Their lips are moving.
Well, and also, it's proven, I believe that universal background checks won't stop any of what we are seeing in the violence that we've seen. Criminals don't do background checks. Why should they? I mean, it's almost paradoxical, if you will, to say that a criminal will go out and get a background check and then commit the crime. So this whole idea that somehow this is going to stop the crime in our country or the terrorism is just ludicrous. But I wanted you to just go ahead now and expand on what's going on in Congress, because it wasn't just the Democrats, Wayne Allen Root. It was Republicans that went along with Democrats. What do we do about that?
Well, you got to vote out the wrong kind of Republicans. But, listen, I get very, very mad at the wrong kind of Republicans all the time. And anyone who hears me on the radio or sees me on Fox News, I've been on Fox News, I don't know, like 10 of the last 12 weeks. So, I'm on Fox News a lot now. And anyone who sees me knows that I'm a conservative warrior who is not happy with the Republican Party. But when forced to choose, there's just no difference. There's no comparison. Even liberal Republicans are still better than the bend over backwards, bleeding heart, extreme socialist Democrats. So I'm not happy with most Republicans out there. I can't stand the establishment types. But I wasn't for a Jeb Bush. I wasn't for a John Kasich. But you know what? They're still better, even though we may disagree on a lot of issues. They're still much better than Democrats. I can't find anything in the entire world that I've ever agreed with any of these leading Democratic politicians on. Find something you agree with Harry Reid on. Nothing. We've got our own kind of establishment Republican here in Nevada, as you know, Sharon, Joe Heck. But again, he's better than Harry Reid. It's not even close, There are people out there on the left who are going after Joe Heck like he's a Republican right of Attila the Hun caveman, because to them he is. To us, he's not, but to them, he is, because he's not a complete Muslim sympathizer. He's not a complete grab your guns guy. He's not a complete tax me at 90% and raise spending to points where the country can't survive and the debt will envelop our entire budget. He's not insane. He's better than Harry Reid. Harry Reid, on the other hand, can be classified as mentally insane. So, again, I'm not happy with the Republicans. They never seem to do what needs to be done, but they're a hell of a lot better than the Democrats.
Well said. Wayne Allen Root, the capitalist evangelist. Tell people where they can follow you and keep in touch with you on this and very important issues.
They can follow me at rootsforamerica.com. You can get all my commentaries for free. You just sign up and register there for free. Roots, R-O-O-T, for America.com. The book is The Power of Relentless. And we think we've got the #1 bestseller in the country this fall. Comes out on August 23rd, the middle of the election run-up. The Angry White Male. I think it's time for us to speak out.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much for spending this time with us at Conservative Commandos, Wayne.
Have a great weekend. God bless.
Support you in your work. Yeah. So, listeners, time flies when you're having fun. I'm Anna Little. My co-host today is Sharon Engel. We want to thank our guests quickly, Stephen Moore and Rudy Takala and Wayne Allen Root. But we are the Conservative Commandos, and we're out of time. We got to go. We've got to run. But we want you to follow us, so we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. We'll see you next week on the radio.